My name is Amy Holden, and I am the former store manager of the Starbucks Poplar and Highland location where many union partners were terminated today. I was with the company for 9.5 years, so I feel like I have a pretty good understanding of what Starbucks policies and procedures are. We have a process at Starbucks when it comes to corrective actions and terminating partners. We do not move straight to termination for anything that is not considered egregious, like stealing and harassment and those kinds of things. Those things we would move towards corrective action to, as long as partner resources supported it. The majority of a violation, a policy violation, would move to some level of corrective action where we would assume positive intent and help that partner correct their action rather than moving straight to termination. It's very rare that we move straight to termination for some sort of policy violation. These partners were terminated for policies like going behind the line when they were off the clock. It's something that's done across the company and especially in the Memphis area. They went behind the line for various reasons, but if we terminated everybody that did that, we would not have a staff. Many of those partners have done those things directly in front of the district manager and the new store manager, and they've never been coached on it before. Nothing was ever said about it. So they were terminated for going behind the line, which is a violation of policy. They should not be doing that, but it's not something that we would terminate a partner for, especially for the first time of them doing it. We would want to have a conversation with them and make sure they were aware of the policy. Some of the partners were terminated for going in the back room when they were off the clock, which is not a Starbucks policy. Those partners have the right to go into the back room to access the Starbucks systems so that they're able to get their schedules, request time off, and be able to access the phone numbers that they need, like the business ethics number or even our district manager's number or another partner's number. They need to get a schedule covered. They also are allowed to use that computer to access their paycheck stubs. And there's nothing in the Starbucks policies and guidelines that say they cannot be in the back room to do those things when they're off the clock. They're also allowed to go in the back room, say they left their apron or they left their hat or they left their water bottle. They're able to go in the back room to get those things when they're off the clock. There is no policy that says that they cannot do that. They were also terminated for letting in customers after the store was closed. The store technically does not close till 8 p.m. They closed the store down that day at 6 p.m. The times were not posted on the internet. The times were not updated in the app. The times were not updated with the customers. And most of the partners had no idea that the store was closing early. The store closed at 6 p.m. instead of 8 p.m. So some of the partners came up there to get their tips and various things that they wanted to do, get a drink and other things. And they were terminated for coming up there and being in the building when the store closed 2 hours early and they had no idea about it. We also have something called the 10-minute rule, which is where customers are allowed in the building. We are allowed to let them in the building after 10 minutes of us being closed. We're also supposed to do it at open. The store hours were not updated. These customers did not know that the store was closed and they had placed orders or wanted to place an order. So by letting them after 10 minutes of us being closed, they were not violating any policy by doing that. They were actually upholding the 10-minute rule policy. We also want to take care of our customers and make sure that we make their experience great and that we're giving them the third place that they deserve. So if our hours say 8 p.m. on the internet and somebody comes up to the door, we're in there and we can serve them. We should serve them within that 10 minutes just because it's the right thing to do and it's the policy. Some of the partners were terminated for violating cash handling policies. Those partners have not completed their computer training regarding cash handling policies. They have not signed the agreements. They have not completed the training regarding that. So how are they supposed to know what the policy and procedure is if you have not completed their training? I was told a couple months ago when I had an issue with a partner that if their My Learning is what we call it, if their My Learning training was not completed, that was on me and it was my responsibility to make sure they had the proper training. If I did not make sure they had the proper training, they were not held accountable for that policy. I was, because it was my fault for not letting them get their computer training done. I'm responsible for making sure that their training is done. These partners did not have that training. I know for a fact 2 of them did not have that training and they did not sign these forms. So how are they supposed to know a policy and procedure if you drop the ball with their training? I feel like this is definitely union busting and it's definitely unfair. And I think it's time that Starbucks stands up and they do something and they address the situation. They stop union busting and they let their partners have a voice. you want to fight and allow them to be partners and say they have a seat at the table, then let them have a seat at a table. Let them be heard. Don't silence their voice by union busting and going behind them and trying to find minor policies and procedures that you've allowed them to do on numerous occasions to now try to hold them accountable for and terminate them for, when you're doing the same things yourself. I think that it's time that they take a step back and let partners' voices be heard. And I think it's time that the customers stand up and say, we're not going to stand for this. It's absolutely terrible what happened to these partners today. And I ask that everybody, not only Starbucks partners, but customers, use their voice to put a stop to the union busting that is happening within the corporation.